Yo, what is up, doggies? It's your boy Beanie Kowloon back on the YouTube, and I know it's been a while since I've uploaded any kind of content, but in my defense, I am making one of the greatest YouTube videos of all time right now. I'm currently making another iceberg video, and it's gonna be like over an hour long, so it's taking me quite some time to make, but I don't know, I'm really excited to show you guys this video when it's ready, so just trust me, it's worth the wait. But shit, dog, enough about that video. We got an absolute heater video right here. I got myself a nice little story time to share, and this story time happened very recently. It literally happened last week. Last weekend, I went on a camping adventure with the Dawgs where basically everyone there is just doing a bunch of drugs and partying, and it's a wild and rowdy time. Like, they had this whole like festival thing going where they had bands playing and everyone was wearing Halloween costumes and there was just trippy shit everywhere. Like, it was just a serious vibe. So I pulled up to this campsite with my dog, who I'm just gonna call Connor. And Connor, he's a close dog. He's someone who I worked at Chipotle with for like many years. He also gave me DMT, which, you know, pretty cool. And also on top of all that, he's just the homie. So me and Connor were at the campsite, and we had one other dude at the site at this time who I'm just gonna call Bill, who was another dude that I already knew, who I worked at Chipotle with, who I was also pretty close with. And another thing about this campsite is, like, we were sharing just this one lot with like 10 other people, and I didn't know any of the other people except for the 2 people I was with right now. But my friend Connor had told me that the other people, they're all very chill and cool, and, you know, we're just gonna have a great time. But the other dogs weren't gonna show up to the woods until later that night at like 7 or 8 or something. Me, Colin, and Bill were already there at like 3 o'clock or something, so we just all started setting up our tents. So me and the dogs all start setting up the tents, and, you know, none of us have ever actually like set up tents, so we're kind of just figuring it out as we go. And we managed to get Connor and Bill's tents up looking nice, but when it came time for my tent, that was another story. The big ass like metal rods with like string in between them that you use to build the tent for my tent were just completely fucked up, or we were all just too stupid to figure it out. And we spent 30 minutes trying to build this shit with just absolutely no luck. It probably didn't help that we already started drinking and smoking before we started setting up the tents, but shit, dogs, we're trying to get lit. But one of the dogs I was with came out with a pretty fire suggestion on how we can get this tent going, and basically we were just gonna grab the middle of the tent, raise it up as high as we possibly could, and then just tie it across a tree. If you're thinking to yourself, yo, Beanie, your tent sounds like it was all kinds of fucked up, you know, that's not how you're supposed to use a tent, then you would be completely right, because look at this fucking tent that I slept in. I most certainly did not earn my wilderness camping badge when I set up this tent. This is an unacceptable tent. But regardless, I really didn't care that much about my sleeping situation. I was just happy to have it done with. The only thing I really wanted at this point was just to get really fucked up. And well, you know, I didn't have anything on me besides Mary Jane, and you know, Mary Jane just really wasn't gonna cut it at the time. I was trying to either trip sack or get really drunk or just do something wacky and wild and maybe a bit dangerous. So this whole time waiting for other people to arrive and just waiting to do more shit, and I'm very impatient. I keep asking my dog Bill if I can get some more drinks, and I keep asking Connor if I can get some ketamine. Like, I just wanted to get fucked up. And both my dogs at the time are just basically telling me to be patient, to wait, you know, I'll be able to do some ketamine later, they'll give me more drinks later, just right now I just need to chill. So we all chill out for a couple more hours. I'm just smoking, chilling by the fire. We cook a couple glizzies in the fire, you know, we're just having a good time. And then around like 7 or something, Connor decides to whip out his shroom bar, and you know, I'm all for this because, you know, I've been just trying to get fucked up. So Connor gave us 3 pieces of the shroom bar, and you know, it's kind of hard to say how much we ate because it's in a chocolate bar and I don't really know. But let me just say, this is one potent ass mushroom bar. Like 3 pieces, I would say, feels like 3 grams or something. I don't even know. When I get this mushroom bar, you know, I just eat it right away, and the 2 homies decide to make s'more mushroom bars with theirs, so they eat theirs a little bit after mine. My mushrooms, you know, I'm pretty sure were like the first to kick in. I remember just staring at the fire pit, and they were just getting like bigger and smaller, and they were just looking very trippy. You know, I was already getting like somewhat pretty intense visuals, and this kind of just tweaked me out because I really didn't want to trip too hard. I just wanted to have like a little trip and just get fucked up on other shit. But I swear there's something with psychedelics where when you don't want to trip too hard, that's when it's going to make you trip absolute sack. And you know, pretty quickly I just started thinking some very negative thoughts, like, why the fuck am I even here? I thought everyone was judging me. I was like, I'm tripping so much harder than anyone else. I just remember I kept looking over at the dogs, and they just looked so chill, like they're having a great time, and I was like, what the fuck's going on? Why are they having such a good time and I'm so fucking spooked right now? And another thing that was tweaking me out is, well, like the past like whole month before this, I've been in college and I've been spending a whole buttload of time with this new girl that, you know, I really like. Aww. To put it simply, being on these mushrooms lost in the woods, I just really missed my girl. And during this time when I was tweaking out by the fire, I texted my girls as a whole bunch of nonsense, and I'll throw that up on the screen now if you guys want to read some of those. But yeah, basically I was in a strange new environment away from a bunch of people that I'm really close with, and it was just definitely tweaking me out quite some bit. So while I'm tweaking out by the fire texting my girl, another girl ends up pulling up to the campsite. And at first I was pretty happy to see a new face because I was just tweaked out, and anything new I felt like could help me. But if I remember correctly, some of the first comments this girl made was just insulting the music I had playing on the speakers, saying that maybe I was having a bad trip because the music I was playing was just so scary. And well, I can see where she's coming from because I was banging Tool and System of a Down while tweaking out, but I will have absolutely no one holler on my playlist. My playlist is absolutely goated. So I pretty soon just did not like this girl either, just thinking some very negative things about her. And after this trip was over, this girl was actually pretty chill, she just wasn't a fan of System of a Down, which is pretty fucking lame, but hey, to each his own. But it's around this time when my negative thoughts just start turning into complete delusions, and I get very lost in them too. And well, some way or another, I had convinced myself that everyone at this campsite is a big old meth head, and is trying to make me smoke meth with them. Now, why I thought this, I really have no good explanation. The best I can do is, there was just like random rave music playing everywhere, so I was just thinking, yeah, that's what meth heads like. And also my one friend wanted to buy Molly, and then the dude they bought Molly off of just looked like an absolute tweaker, like he was really just shaking every which way. In my head, I thought Molly was like a code word for meth because, people do end up putting meth into Molly, to lace it with that. And on top of all that, we ate the shrooms in a chocolate bar, so you can't really even see the mushrooms, so in my head, I was like, what was in that chocolate bar? I think it was meth. And also, somehow this isn't even the first time that I've had a bad trip on mushrooms where I thought that I had taken meth. I don't know, I think it's something to do with the fact that, my biggest fear is always just that I'm gonna ruin my life with drugs, and meth is a pretty no bueno drug. I don't know, whenever I'm having a really bad trip on mushrooms or any psychedelics, I feel like it'll just bring out your greatest fears. So, I guess my greatest fear is that I'll smoke some meth. But at this point, I'm completely tweaked out. They're all passing around blunts, and I won't even hit the blunts because I literally think that they put meth in the blunts. I remember I just kept telling the people at the campfire that I'm scared and I just want to be sober and I just want this to end. I remember the one girl asking me well, what are you scared of? We're all happy over here, we're all having a good time. And I remember I responded back I don't know, I'm just scared, I'm just a fucking pussy. I guess that's what I am, I'm just way too lost in my delusions at this point, and it's really only getting worse and worse. I remember at one point thinking that when I went to sleep in my tent that these people were gonna literally try and rape me. I remember thinking in my head alright, I'm gonna have to fight them out. Thank God I've been working out recently, I should be able to take these rapists. I'm not sure though, because they're gonna be on meth, so they might be a little extra strong, but hey, I'm on meth too, so maybe I can take them. As I said, I was absolutely tweaking out. I remember during this time tweaking out, I thought back to the last time I ate this mushroom chocolate bar and thought that there was meth in it. And I remember the way that I was able to get out of it is I called down my older brother. I'm very close with all my brothers and everyone in my family, but this one brother, he had also tripped some as well. And he's just given me a lot of good advice in the past, and it's just really nice to have someone with a similar perspective to, talk to. This is also the same brother that I thought I saw in my DMT video if you're curious about that. And there's something about psychedelics, whenever I'm having a bad trip, I start thinking of this specific brother because I know that he can help me out of it. So I contemplated calling my brother for 20 minutes because, at that point I was just so tweaked out, making any decision really just took a lot of thought. But, I finally decided to call him, so I walk away from the group for a little bit and I call my brother and I instantly just tell him, I'm in the woods, I'm scared, and I'm tripping sack. And my brother responding back very concerned, you're in the woods, where are you? And, I further explained that, I'm at a campsite and I'm not just lost in the woods. And I remember just telling him I'm not sure what I ate in the Shroom chocolate bar, and he just responded back, just relax, you're gonna be okay, and to just not do anything that I don't want to do. We ended up having a very quick conversation, and it really didn't even make that much sense because I was just tripping way too hard and he couldn't really keep up with what I was saying. But regardless of what we said in that phone call, it really did just kind of feel like it helped a lot. I kind of stopped all the bad thoughts right after this. I'm also sure that the mushrooms wearing off probably helped a lot too. I was still kind of tripping the rest of the night, but I wasn't thinking that I smoked meth and other people were gonna rape me, so I was kind of chilling. So after recovering from this bad trip, I was still a bit tweaked out, and I remember me, Bill, and Connor all went for a walk. Connor tells us all to follow him as he has something cool to show us, and he takes us to this sign that says no trespassing beyond this point, and he just walks right through it. So me and Bill decide to follow him, and Bill starts making some funny jokes about how Connor's probably trying to kill us back here. And I'm joining in on the jokes, it's all pretty funny, but since I was still a little tweaked out, in the back of my head I was like, is this fucker Connor really about to kill us right now? And we're just walking alongside this cliff, and then at one point Connor says, alright, now we gotta go down here. This dude Connor starts climbing down this hill telling us to follow him, and at this point I'm like, Connor, I think you actually might be trying to murder us right now. And me and Bill both just refused to follow this kid because odds are he really was gonna murder us down there. After some time of arguing with Connor that we're not gonna follow him because we don't want to get murdered, some dude overheard us and yelled us and told us that we needed to leave the area right then. The dude also just like followed us back with a bright ass flashlight to make sure we were leaving. Dude was a little bit corny, but at the end of the day, he really did save our lives because this dude Connor was like 90% chance gonna murder us. Like, still to this day, I have no idea what Connor's intentions were. Like, when we asked him after, he would just jokingly say, I was just gonna show you guys the dead bodies I hide down there. So yeah, I almost died, pretty cool. At some point of walking around, we would return to our campsite, and now that I wasn't completely tweaked out, I went to go introduce myself with the rest of the people we were camping with, and there were just like 10 people all around a big fire, roasting up some sausages, just having a hoot and a holler. The only thing this campfire was missing is some bangers, so I grabbed the speaker, I turned it on, and I started playing some jams. And like within like 5 seconds, I knew I was with a good group of people because unlike the one girl who was hollering on my music before, these dogs were all singing along, requesting more bangers, and just having interesting conversations about music. Like, it's not often you can just find a group of people that all rock with Tool. It was just a pretty killer vibe, and to make the vibe even better, we were all knocking back many brewskis. So we're all just raging out, getting drunk, I'm screaming the lyrics to all the songs I got coming on, I'm just having a great time. And at some point of us banging these heavy metal jams, we get this random drunk girl that walks up to her campsite, and this girl goes on about how all her friends are lame and don't listen to cool heavy metal music like us, so she doesn't want to hang out with them, and she would rather be a part of our group. And we all go invite this girl to come sit with us because why not, the more the merrier. So I was with this girl for about like 2 hours, and I shit you not, there's probably not a minute that went by where her mouth was closed. Like, this girl would not stop talking. And I wouldn't really have an issue with that if this girl was saying some interesting things, but no, this girl would just not shut her mouth about how much she loves heavy metal music and how her friends don't like heavy metal music, only listen to hippie music, so she couldn't hang around them, and she's so much happier now that she's with us listening to heavy metal music. This girl really said the words love and heavy metal music like 60 plus times. Like, at some point I was starting to get the sense that this girl really likes heavy metal music. But even though this girl was kind of killing my vibe a little bit, I was still having a great time banging out with the dogs. At one point, the dogs even started like a 3-man mosh pit, and clearly your boy Beanie Kowloon had to hop in to make it a 4-man. And moshing was absolutely lit. I was just running into people, pushing them, doing flips, just having a great time. But at some point, one of the dogs I was moshing with ended up getting his face like smacked on the ground or something. And I remember the moshing, all stops for a bit because this dude's on the ground hurt. And the dude looks up and he just got blood all over his face, just in his mouth, coming out of his nose. And, I'm thinking in my head, oh shit, we got a little too rowdy, we were having fun, but now we got a dog down. This dog got up, did the rock and roll gesture with his hand, and then just started banging out once again. It truly was heavy metal as fuck. Like, this dude rocking out with the blood all over his face, like, it went hard, dog. And this was basically the end of night 1. I would end up going back to my tent at like 6 a.m. to go to sleep. And I remember getting into my tent, literally like the whole thing was just like collapsing on me. Like, I had the tent just sitting on my face. And I also forgot to mention that I didn't even bring a pillow. And on top of all that, the whole night there's just rave music bumping non-stop. But luckily for me, I was just really drunk and fucked up and tired, so I managed to just fall asleep somewhat easily. Although I only got like 3 hours of sleep because I remember waking up at like 9 a.m. and I just could not go back to sleep because my tent was shitty and it was loud as fuck. So the next day I would just chill with all the dogs that I had met at the campsite, and all the dogs had decided that today they were going to go to this music festival that they had going, wear their Halloween costumes, and be tripping absolute sack on acid. I just remember thinking, goddamn, did I eat those mushrooms way too soon, because this sounds like a way better time to trip, and I already knew all the people, so I think I would have just had a better time if I would have waited. But I had decided not to trip this day because, tolerance, and also just because I had a really rough trip the other day, so I just wanted to chill a little bit. But while I wasn't going to trip this day, you're still not going to catch me missing the opportunity to buy some acid. And this dude I bought the acid off of was quite the character. I'm pretty sure he was like one of the fathers of one of the kids at our campsite that I was hanging out with the day before. And I really don't know how else to describe this family except for heavy incest vibes. Now, I don't actually know if it was an incest family, but it was just everyone in the family seemed a little bit off. But anyways, it was the father of the kid who was selling the acid, and this dude would go by the name Dragon. I remember Dragon's kid, or at least I thought it was Dragon's kid, was telling me that Dragon used to actually work at this campsite, but he got fired over some bullshit. But he assured me that Dragon was good people and, that I should trust him. And, I don't really care what this kid was saying. I was not trusting this fool Dragon, but none of that really mattered. I just wanted some acid off of him. So I secured a quick little 10 strip of acid off Dragon. I still haven't tried this Dragon acid, but I have a feeling this Dragon acid's gonna hit. Right when I'm getting this acid, the dogs I came with, Bill and Connor, woke up, and I told them about these acid plays, and Bill went to go cop 2 tabs and popped them right away. Now, I wouldn't be with most of the gang today because most of the gang would go out trip and sack to the concert. I did see them before they left, and I saw them getting their costumes on, and some of them had some pretty hard costumes. Like, this one dude had an angel costume where he had like a bunch of eyeballs everywhere. It was pretty drip. But me, Bill, and Connor would all chill back at the campsite, and we had some of our own activities planned for us. Bill was holding on to quite a bit of DMT, and this was going to be the night he smoked it and left this dimension. Bill had more than enough DMT, so not only was Bill smoking the DMT, so was Connor. I probably also could have got in on this, but the last time I smoked DMT, I got the YouTube video on it, it was just a little bit too much for me. But I was just excited to watch the dog smoke DMT because, I don't know, DMT is just one of those things that's just so crazy that you can't explain that it's cool to have someone else smoke it and watch them be just as confused as you were. So Connor and Bill both smacked this DMT out of a dab rig, and they're taking some fat smacks. I remember Bill went first, and just watching the amount of smoke Bill inhaled, I thought for sure he was going to break through because, I broke through off one bong rip. Bill was out here throwing back 3 or 4 fat ass rips from the rig. Bill during his trip would just end up looking into the sky, and I remember I kept looking over to Bill waiting for his eyes to close because, I'm pretty sure your eyes have to close when you're in a breakthrough. And Bill was out here on 2 tabs of acid smoking hella DMT, so, I was thinking he has to break through. But when he came back, it was quite apparent that he did not break through. He just was talking about how it all looked like a cartoon and how he like zoomed into this bird. After Bill came back, he also knew that he didn't break through as he was complaining that it wasn't enough, and he was saying that he thinks that he should smoke some more. But before he would smoke some more, it was Connor's turn on the Deemz. And Connor did the exact same thing, taking multiple fat rips off this rig. But when Connor looked up into the sky, his eyes did close after like 5 seconds. I remember when I'm first watching him with his eyes closed, he has like a smile on his face and he's laughing. But after like 5 minutes, I look back at him, and this time his face is all like crumbled up. He looks like he's forcing his eyes as hard as he possibly can. The man just looked like he was going through some shit. I remember when Connor came back, he was just completely silent for the first like 5 minutes, and when he first started talking, his words weren't really making that much sense, and he just seemed kind of lost and confused. And I just kept asking him like, yo dog, what happened? Because to me it looked like he had just broken through. But quite literally the only answer I could get off of this kid Connor is that he saw a centipede. I have a feeling a lot more went down during his DMT trip, but he just can't even explain it. But all we know for sure is this dog saw a centipede. And after Connor came back, Bill would go back in for some more DMT, inhaling an absolutely fat amount once again, but still, same thing happens. He just looked into the sky the whole time and his eyes did not close one time. I don't know, I just find it weird that he didn't break through either of those times because like he was inhaling a lot of DMT, and I don't know, I feel like if I would have inhaled the amount of DMT that he did, I would have been straight to the metaverse. At some point of the DMT session, a couple people from our camp group would end up returning back to us, and we explained the situation at hand that we're all smoking DMT right now, and one of the girls there was quite interested in DMT and never got the opportunity to smoke some. So Bill, being a nice guy, decides to give her the rest of the DMT that he has, and she also smoked a good amount of this DMT, maybe a little bit less than Connor and Bill just because there was not as much left, but she was taking some fat womps. And while this girl is tripping on the Deemz, there's like 5 or 6 people back at the campsite now, and a bunch of people are like talking to her while she's tripping. And what really confused me is while people were talking to her, she actually managed to respond back to questions with like somewhat reasonable answers. Like I remember people were asking like, do you feel it? Are you tripping? And she was like, oh yeah, I definitely feel something. And I remember another dude had a whole conversation about like the music, asking if it was too much for her. She definitely wasn't really comprehending this conversation at all, but she was responding back with words, which I just thought was kind of wild. Because when you're on DMT, it's not like you can hear and understand conversations. When she came back, she was also like silent for like the first 5 minutes, just really confused. And when we asked what it was like, she explained that it was like a cartoon, and she said at one point she just saw like everyone's bodies just like collide into each other or something really wacky. And I asked this girl if she had any memory of what we were saying to her or what she said back, and she said she had no idea that she was even talking to us or that we were talking to her. Which is just another reason why I say DMT is the wackiest drug out there. You can't even call it a drug at this point. It's just pure wackiness. Now, I remember for like the next like hour, I was literally talking to this girl about her DMT trip because she was just so fucking confused. And I remember that was just exactly how I felt after my first DMT breakthrough. Like, it's just not at all what you're expecting. It's way, way, way more intense and wacky. And I don't know, it's always just fun talking to someone that can relate to you, especially with something like that where not many people on this planet will have any idea what you're talking about. So after the DMT sesh, we all just continued chilling by the campfire, kicking back brewskis, just having a good time. At some point, just chilling by the fire, a bunch of my dogs all went to go buy some Molly. And I just stayed back because I didn't really have any interest in buying Molly, and I was just going to wait for them to return. So after like like 2 hours, these fools just still did not return, and the campsite really just started clearing out. It was just me and like 2 other people by the fire. At some point, I just got bored and I decided, fuck this, I'm gonna go to sleep. So I went over to go slump out in Connor's car because there was just no chance I was sleeping in that shitty ass tent again. But at like 3 or 4 in the morning, this dude Connor ends up calling me, telling me that I need to get over to him as we're doing hella cocaine over here. And cocaine, for you guys who are less cultured and may not know what it is, it's just coke and ketamine mixed. And you know, me hearing about these cocaine plays, I tell Connor to get his ass over here because I have no idea where the fuck they're at. And also, while I'm talking to this dude Connor, in the background I just overhear some kid yelling, "Cocaine! It's my birthday weekend, cocaine!" But Connor tells me he'll be over shortly and he hangs up the phone. I also remember I got some text from Connor telling me that he's bringing over some kid who has heavy schizophrenia and just be cool with him because he's the one supplying the cocaine. So Bill, Connor, and the schizophrenic cocaine kid all pull up to the campsite, and the schizophrenic kid also had a girlfriend who was like 10 years older than him that appeared to literally just be like this man's handler. Like she was just taking care of this crazy schizophrenic kid. And basically like the first thing this kid says to us is like, just so you guys know, I have schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and just like named like 300 disorders. And I was like, alright dude, that sounds pretty cool. I remember this kid was just asking us the most wild questions, like, you ever tripping on acid and just get smoke in your eye, or are you ever tripping on acid while mowing the lawn? And I was like, I can't say I've done either of those things. I remember he was talking about the first time he ever tripped on acid, and he said he was watching some like shark documentaries, and his whole house literally started filling with water, and he started running from his room to his bathroom at full speed, just back and forth. And this kid was describing it like it was his best trip ever. Like, I don't know what was going on in his brain, but that brain is definitely wired all kinds of wrong. At one point, this fool Connor tells me that this schizophrenic kid literally can do black magic. Connor gets the kid to do some black magic on me, and he does some shit where he like held my hands, put them against the dirt, and then somehow in the inside of my hand there was just a perfect like black circle. I was far too drunk to really even comprehend what the fuck this kid just did to me, but like, he honest to God might have done some black magic. Like, this dude Connor still swears to this day that this dude had magical powers. And after he did this magic trick, he did this thing where he put his heart next to my heart, and let me just say, I felt quite uncomfortable. I was not the biggest fan of this schizophrenic kid just like touching me. And I forgot to mention that this dude Connor, when he was off with the schizophrenic kid by himself, ended up letting this schiz kid kiss him like 20 plus times or something. I wasn't there for all that. Connor just told me, and you know, I asked Connor, I'm like, dog, what you mean you kissed this schizophrenic kid? And I shit you not, this dude Connor came back with probably the funniest response I could have ever thought of, and he just told me, it wasn't like a real kiss, it was a mafia kiss. And I mean, like, hate all you want, but if you guys have ever seen The Godfather or any good mafia movies, you would know that mafia kisses are what all the real gangsters do. But you know, me personally, I did not want this schizophrenic kid kissing me, so after hearing this, I made sure to stay pretty far away from him. Also, while we're at this campsite, this schizophrenic kid literally sits on Bill's lap for like 5 minutes while like stroking his neck and shit. And like, you know, I want to specify there's nothing wrong with being gay, that's totally okay if you are, but to my knowledge, none of these people were gay, so this was just all very weird to me. But besides all that, I was just really afraid that this schizophrenic kid was going to try to do some gay shit to me. Like, I had to stand up out of my chair and watch from the back once I saw him sit on that kid's lap, because I was not having this dude jump on my lap. But regardless of all that, this kid made for a very interesting night, and I might have tapped into a bit of the cocaine. At one point when we were chilling with this SKITZ kid, the campsite next to us would set off a bunch of firecrackers, and this schizophrenic kid would absolutely tweak out from this, like literally shaking for the next 3 minutes. And then after some point of him like shaking, just absolutely tweaking out, he would come out of this and say, I'm sorry, I just went back to when I was 7 years old and I saw my dad's brains all over the walls. And we all just look at each other like, okay, pretty cool story, man. At some point of hanging out with this schizophrenic kid, we would go out to buy some more ketamine because, well, it was the kid's birthday weekend and we were trying to get lit. Getting this ketamine was just like really complicated for no reason, and I'm not really going to even go into it, but basically we walk over to like where the schizophrenic kid's campsite was, and I see him just railing fat lines of either cocaine or ketamine. Like, this dude was just trying to go full SKITZ mode. So we would end up buying some more ketamine like behind this kid's tent or something, and this dude selling the ketamine just seemed to have all the drugs. I ended up buying a DMT card off him, which was, you know, pretty nice. But after this wild and wacky adventure, we would just go back to the campsite to slump out, and you know, this time I would go to sleep in the car, and it was just so much better than my shitty tent. The next day was my last day at these woods, and nothing too notable would happen this day because most of the crazy shit would happen at nighttime, and we would leave around like 5. But the last day was just a nice chill day where we all just smoked some, hit the DMT cart, looked at nature. it was a nice vibe. And I mean, well, there you have it. That was my journey into the woods. And I don't know, if you want to take a lesson out of this video, I'd say don't eat psychedelics until you're comfortable with your environment, because if I would have waited till like day 2 when I was already close with everyone, I'm sure I would have had a much better time. Other lessons you might learn from this story might be don't hang out with schizophrenic kids unless if you want to be completely on edge. And also, I want to say to all the dogs watching, don't do fucking drugs. What are you, fucking stupid or something? Like, yeah, I might have just made a whole video about me in the woods doing drugs, and yeah, there might be a lot of other YouTube videos on my channel about me doing drugs, but that does not mean I condone them. I'm only sharing these drug stories because I find them entertaining, as drugs do create for some interesting times. But yeah, I don't really know what I'm saying. Do whatever the fuck you guys want, but don't do drugs because, you know, you hear me talking about them, they sound fun or cool. Just do your own research and be careful out there, doggies. And even if you are doing research and you feel like you're responsible and you can handle drugs, drugs can still end up fucking you up, so, you know, just keep that in mind. But yeah, that's basically all I got for this video. Make sure you guys join my Discord, as it's hecka fun over there. And as always, peace out, doggies.